Hey, welcome back. Let everything quiet down, and we'll ease into a slow tale from Norse mythology. You are born into a world that does not ask what you want to become. It only asks whether you will survive. Your first breath is drawn in a narrow band of land, where mountains rise sharply from cold water, where forests press close and dark, and where the sea is never far away. This is Scandinavia in the Viking Age, roughly between the late 8th and early 11th centuries. It is not a unified place. There is no single nation called Norway, Sweden, or Denmark yet. Instead, there are regions, valleys, islands, and coastlines, each loosely tied together by language, trade, kinship, and shared hardship. Life as a Viking villager begins not with adventure, but with geography. Fjords cut deep into the land like long scars filled with seawater. In some areas, steep rock walls rise straight from the shore, leaving only narrow strips of usable ground. Inland, forests dominate, thick stands of pine, spruce, and birch that provide timber, fuel, and shelter, but also limit farmland. In other regions, especially parts of Denmark and southern Sweden, the land opens into gentler fields and rolling terrain, easier to farm but still exposed to wind and weather. The climate shapes everything. Winters are long, dark, and unforgiving. Snow blankets the ground for months. Rivers freeze. Travel becomes difficult or impossible. Summers are short and intense, with long daylight hours that must be used fully because the growing season is brief and unpredictable. One bad summer, too cold, too wet, too dry, can mean hunger in winter. 2 bad years in a row can mean death. This is the world you are born into. And from the moment you arrive, your value is measured in practical terms. Birth itself is dangerous. Many infants do not survive their first days or weeks. Illness, weakness, or complications during birth are common. A Viking village does not have healers in the modern sense, and certainly no doctors. Knowledge is passed down through experience. Older women assisting births, using techniques learned from their mothers and grandmothers. Some remedies help, others do nothing. A few may even harm. Survival is often a matter of chance. If you live, you are welcomed into a tightly bound family unit. Viking villages are small by modern standards. A settlement may consist of only a handful of longhouses clustered together for protection and cooperation. Everyone knows everyone else. Privacy, as later societies would understand it, does not exist. Your life is visible from the start. Family is not just parents and siblings. It is extended kin, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and in some cases, unrelated individuals who have attached themselves to the household. These connections matter deeply. Kinship determines who will help you in hard times, who will defend you in disputes, and who will remember you after death. Status matters too, though it is not always obvious at birth. Some are born into families that own more land, more animals, or have stronger reputations. Others are born into households with little beyond their labor. At the bottom are thralls, enslaved people captured in raids or inherited through debt or conflict. A freeborn child is not equal to all others, but they begin life with more protection than a thrall ever will. As a child, you are not sheltered for long. Childhood in a Viking village is brief and practical. There is no clear line between play and work. As soon as you are able to walk steadily and follow instructions, you begin to contribute. Carrying small bundles of firewood, watching animals, fetching water. These tasks are not framed as chores. They are simply part of belonging. There is no formal schooling. Knowledge is learned by watching and doing. You learn how to tie knots, mend simple tools, recognize weather signs, and understand the rhythms of the land. Stories are told in the evenings, not as entertainment alone, but as instruction. Tales of ancestors, disputes, migrations, and mistakes. Memory is the village's archive. From early on, you understand that survival depends on cooperation. Farming alone is rarely possible. Clearing land, building structures, harvesting crops, and preparing for winter all require shared effort. Villages function as interdependent units. Someone's failure affects everyone. The landscape enforces humility. Storms can destroy crops overnight. Early frosts can ruin harvests. Livestock can fall ill or wander off. Fishing yields can change with the seasons. The sea provides food and trade routes, but it also takes lives without warning. Drowning is common, so is exposure. There is no sense that the world owes you fairness. Nature is not romanticized. It is respected, feared, and worked against constantly. You learn quickly that preparation is the difference between discomfort and catastrophe. Time itself feels different. There are no clocks. Days are measured by light and darkness, seasons by temperature and growth. Winter is not just a season, it is an obstacle to endure. Summer is not leisure, it is urgency. Identity in a Viking village is rooted in place. You are known by where you live, who your family is, and what you can do. Names are often shared across generations, linking you to ancestors. Reputation matters deeply. A family known for reliability, fairness, or strength holds social weight. One known for laziness, dishonor, or unresolved disputes carries that burden forward. Violence exists, but it is not constant chaos. Most villagers are not warriors. They are farmers, fishers, herders, craftspeople. Raids and expeditions happen, but they involve a small portion of the population and are seasonal. The majority stay behind, maintaining the village, raising children, and producing food. This distinction is important. The popular image of Vikings focuses on ships and battles, but village life is defined by continuity, not conquest. For every person who leaves on a longship, many more remain behind, ensuring that the household survives their absence. Gender roles exist, but they are shaped by necessity rather than ideology. Men and women both work, though often in different tasks. Strength is valued, but so is endurance, skill, and judgment. A household cannot function if half its members are idle. From childhood, you are also aware of limits. Travel is difficult and rare. Most people will never venture far beyond neighboring settlements. News travels slowly, carried by traders, travelers, or returning relatives. The wider world exists, but it is distant and abstract. You grow up understanding that life is fragile but not meaningless. There is joy, too. Shared meals, seasonal celebrations, music played on simple instruments, storytelling by firelight, laughter after a successful harvest. These moments matter because they are earned. By the time you reach adolescence, you are already skilled in multiple tasks. You may not think of yourself as young. You are simply another pair of hands in a world that needs many. This is the foundation of life as a Viking villager. Not glory, not legend, but place, labor, kinship, and survival. Repeated day after day, season after season, generation after generation. Everything else grows from here. The center of your world is not a throne room, a temple, or a battlefield. It is a long, low building that smells of smoke, animals, and damp earth. This is the longhouse, and nearly everything in your life happens within its walls. From the outside, a Viking longhouse looks plain, even crude. Its shape is simple, an elongated rectangle with gently curved walls, designed to shed wind and rain. The structure is built from what the land provides. Heavy timber frames cut from nearby forests, walls packed with turf, clay, or wattle and daub, and a roof layered thick with sod or thatch. In winter, snow piles on top, adding insulation. In summer, grass grows where a roof should be. There is no single design. Longhouses vary by region, wealth, and purpose. Some are modest family homes. Others are larger farm halls that house extended families, workers, and animals under one roof. What they all share is practicality. Every beam, every wall exists to keep out cold, wind, and rain, not to impress. The entrance is low. You learn early to duck as you step inside. This is not accidental. A low doorway keeps warmth in and makes it harder for wind to rush through. It also reminds you, subconsciously, that comfort here requires constant compromise. Inside, light is scarce. There are no glass windows. Small openings may exist near the roofline, but they are covered with animal hide or wooden shutters. During the day, light leaks in weakly. At night, the interior is lit only by the fire and a few oil lamps fueled with animal fat. Shadows stretch across the walls. Faces flicker. Darkness is never far away. The heart of the longhouse is the central hearth. It runs lengthwise along the floor, an open strip of fire that provides heat, light, and a place to cook. Smoke rises upward, filling the space before slowly escaping through vents in the roof. There is no chimney. Smoke stains the beams black over time. Your eyes sting. Your clothes absorb the smell. Breathing shallowly becomes second nature. This smoke is uncomfortable, but it serves a purpose. It helps preserve the wooden structure, drives away insects, and dries meat and fish hung near the rafters. Comfort is secondary to survival. Along the walls are raised platforms made of wood and packed earth. These serve as benches during the day and sleeping areas at night. There are no private rooms. Families sleep side by side, wrapped in wool blankets or animal skins. Children, parents, grandparents, all within arm's reach. At night, the sounds of breathing, coughing, shifting bodies, and animals blend together. Animals are not separate from human life. In colder months, livestock such as sheep, goats, or even cattle may be brought inside or kept in attached byres. Their body heat adds warmth. Their presence adds noise, smell, and filth. You learn to ignore it. Storage fills every spare space. Chests line the walls holding clothing, tools, and valuables. Hooks and pegs support weapons, cooking vessels, and bundles of dried food. The rafters above are crowded with hanging items: fish, meat, herbs, spare wood, all kept high to protect them from moisture and animals. The floor is packed dirt, sometimes layered with straw or rushes. Over time, spilled food, ash, and waste become part of it. Cleaning is minimal. You sweep occasionally. Mostly, you accept the grime as part of life. Heat is uneven. Those closest to the fire are warm. Those near the walls are cold. In winter, frost can form on the inside of the walls even as the hearth burns. People shift places constantly, seeking comfort where they can find it. Sound carries easily. Conversations are public. Arguments cannot be hidden. Laughter, grief, and anger all echo through the same space. Privacy is rare and temporary, perhaps a quiet moment outside, or silence while others sleep. The longhouse is also a workplace. Tools are repaired near the fire. Wool is spun. Nets are mended. Wood is carved. Meals are prepared slowly, often taking hours to cook over the open hearth. The house smells different depending on the season. Fresh fish in spring, drying meat in autumn, smoke and damp wool in winter. Weather presses constantly against the structure. Rain seeps through weak points. Wind rattles the roof. Snow piles against the walls. Maintenance never truly ends. Roofs must be patched. Walls reinforced. Fires watched carefully to avoid disaster. A single spark can destroy everything. Despite its hardships, the longhouse offers safety. Outside, storms rage, predators roam, and darkness hides danger. Inside, there is warmth, community, and continuity. This is where stories are told, where children learn by watching, where elders remember aloud. The longhouse also reflects status. Larger houses suggest wealth and influence. Finer woodwork, carved posts, imported items. These details are noticed. They speak without words. Still, even the grandest longhouse is uncomfortable by modern standards. Wealth buys space and resources, not ease. Daily rhythms revolve around the hearth. Morning begins with tending the fire, coaxing embers back to life. Night ends with banking it carefully, hoping it will last until morning. Fire is precious. Letting it die is a serious mistake. In winter, the longhouse becomes the entire world. Darkness dominates. Work shifts indoors. People sit close together, conserving heat. Stories stretch longer. Silence feels heavier. The walls seem to close in. In summer, doors open more often. Smoke escapes more easily. People spend more time outside. The house breathes. This building shapes how you think and behave. You learn patience, tolerance, and awareness of others. There is no space to withdraw completely. Emotional restraint becomes practical. Conflict must be managed, because escape is impossible. The longhouse is not just shelter, it is memory made physical. Generations are born, live, and die within the same walls. Repairs layer over old repairs. Smoke-darkened beams witness everything. When you leave the longhouse, you leave protection. When you return to shared life in all its closeness and discomfort. This is home, as a Viking villager understands it, not a refuge from hardship, but a structure built to endure it. You do not belong to yourself alone. From the moment you can understand words, you belong to people. Life in a Viking village is organized around family and kinship, not abstract loyalty to a distant ruler. There is no strong central authority watching daily life. Order comes from relationships, from who is related to who owes whom, and who remembers what happened generations ago. The basic unit of society is the household. A household is not just parents and children. It often includes grandparents, unmarried siblings, cousins, fostered children, and sometimes unrelated individuals who have attached themselves through work, marriage, or necessity. These people live, eat, work, and sleep together, sharing both resources and risk. Kinship determines security. If you fall ill, it is your family that feeds you. If you are injured, it is your relatives who cover your work. If you are accused of wrongdoing, it is your kin who stand beside you. A person without strong family ties is vulnerable in ways that go far beyond loneliness. Marriage is less about romance and more about stability. Matches are arranged with practical considerations in mind: land, livestock, alliances, reputation. Love may grow later, but it is not the foundation. Marrying into a respected family strengthens your household standing in the village. Women typically marry young, often in their mid-teens. Men usually marry slightly later, once they can support a household. A marriage brings not just two people together, but two families. Disputes between spouses can ripple outward into wider conflict if not managed carefully. A dowry or bride price may be exchanged, depending on region and custom. These transactions are not symbolic. They represent real wealth: animals, land rights, tools, and they bind families together through obligation. Once married, roles within the household are clearly understood, though not rigid in every detail. Men are generally responsible for heavy outdoor labor, travel, and defense. Women manage the household economy, food storage, clothing production, child care, and often finances. This division is practical, shaped by experience rather than ideology. Children are valued but not indulged. High child mortality makes emotional distance a form of protection. Parents care deeply, but they do not expect every child to survive. This reality hardens attitudes without eliminating affection. From a young age, children learn through imitation. Boys and girls both help with animals, fetching water, gathering fuel. As they grow older, tasks become more specialized. There is little tolerance for idleness. Everyone contributes according to ability. Elders hold a respected position. Age brings authority, not because of sentimentality, but because experience matters. Older men and women remember past famines, disputes, migrations, and alliances. Their memory guides decisions in the present. Reputation is one of the most valuable forms of social currency. A person known for fairness, reliability, and restraint gains trust. One known for violence, dishonor, or deceit finds doors closed. These judgments are slow to change and often inherited along family lines. Honor is not an abstract virtue. It is a practical measure of how others can expect you to behave. breaking oaths, failing obligations, or showing cowardice damages not only you, but your entire family. Disputes are inevitable in close-knit communities. Land boundaries, livestock damage, unpaid debts, and insults can all spark conflict. Because villages are small and escape is rare, resolution matters more than victory. Most conflicts are settled through mediation, compensation, or apology. Violence is a last resort, not because it is immoral, but because it is destabilizing. A killing sets off cycles of revenge that can consume entire families. Feuds are remembered for generations, names are recalled, grudges passed down. A single act can shape a family's future long after the original participants are gone. Women play a central role in maintaining social balance. Through marriage ties, negotiation, and influence within households, they often act as stabilizing forces. While formal authority may rest with men, informal power flows through many hands. Slavery exists as part of this social order. Thralls are people without kin protection. They may be captured in raids, inherited, or born into servitude. Their labor supports free households, but they exist outside the web of mutual obligation. A thrall's life is harsh and precarious. They can be traded, punished, or killed, with little consequence. Occasionally, a thrall may be freed, but this is rare and depends entirely on the owner's choice. Despite inequality, village life requires cooperation across social boundaries. During harvests, building projects, or emergencies, everyone works together. Survival blurs distinctions, even if it does not erase them. Social memory is long. Stories of ancestors, disputes, and migrations are repeated until they become identity. You know who your people are because you are told, again and again. You grow up understanding that your actions are never entirely your own. They reflect on your household, your kin, and your descendants. Freedom in a Viking village does not mean independence. It means being embedded, known, judged, supported, and constrained by the people around you. This web of relationships is both protection and pressure. It keeps you alive, but it also watches you closely. In this world, to belong is to endure together. Hunger is never far from your thoughts. Even on good days, it lingers quietly in the background, a reminder of how quickly comfort can disappear. Food is not entertainment. It is survival, planning, and constant calculation. Life as a Viking villager revolves around the struggle to produce enough to eat before winter arrives. Farming in Scandinavia is unforgiving. The soil is often thin and rocky. Forests must be cleared by hand. Fields are small, irregular, and easily damaged by frost or excess rain. Every harvest feels uncertain until it is safely stored. Most villagers grow barley, rye, and oats. Wheat is rare and difficult to cultivate in the colder climate. Grain is precious. It becomes bread, porridge, and ale, staples that sustain life when fresh food is scarce. Losing a grain harvest is catastrophic. It does not just mean hunger, it means starvation months later, when nothing can be replaced. Fields are prepared slowly. Stones are cleared and piled at the edges. Wooden plows pulled by oxen or horses cut shallow furrows into the soil. The work is exhausting and repetitive. Progress is measured in small gains, not dramatic change. Livestock are as important as crops, sometimes more so. Cattle provide milk, butter, and cheese. Sheep give wool and meat. Goats survive where others cannot. Pigs forage freely, turning scraps and forest growth into fat and flesh. Chickens, where they exist, supply eggs in small numbers. Animals are wealth on four legs. Losing one to disease or accident is a serious blow. Killing an animal for meat is a deliberate decision, often reserved for specific times of year. Most animals are kept alive as long as possible, valued for what they produce rather than what they provide once. Fishing supplements farming, especially in coastal and river communities. Nets, lines, and traps are used to catch herring, cod, salmon, and smaller fish. Fishing can be productive, but it is unpredictable. Storms, changing currents, and seasonal shifts all affect the catch. Hunting adds variety, but not reliability. Deer, elk, birds, and smaller game are taken when available. Hunting is time-consuming and uncertain. It cannot be depended on to feed a village consistently. Foraging fills gaps. Berries, nuts, roots, mushrooms, and wild greens are gathered during warmer months. Knowledge of edible plants is passed down carefully. Mistakes can be deadly. Some plants nourish, others poison. Meals are simple and repetitive. Porridge made from grain is common. Bread is coarse and dense. Meat appears occasionally, often boiled or stewed to stretch small portions. Fish is dried, smoked, or salted to last through winter. Preservation is as important as production. Drying racks fill with fish and meat. Smoke from the hearth cures food slowly. Fermentation turns milk into skyr-like products and vegetables into sour stores that resist spoilage. Salt is valuable and sometimes scarce, limiting how much can be preserved. Autumn is the most important season. Harvest time is frantic. Everyone works long hours to bring in crops, slaughter selected animals, and prepare stores. There is little rest. Mistakes now will be paid for in winter. Winter is endurance. Fresh food is rare. Meals shrink. Fat reserves are rationed carefully. Hunger becomes familiar, even in households that prepared well. In harsh years, people eat seed grain meant for planting, trading future survival for present life. Famine is not rare. One failed harvest can be survived. 2 in a row bring desperation. People leave villages, beg, or die quietly. Stories of hunger linger for generations, shaping cautious behavior long after conditions improve. Children learn early that food is not wasted. Scraps are reused. Bones are boiled repeatedly for broth. Nothing edible is thrown away. Even cooking mistakes are eaten, rather than discarded. Ale plays a central role. Brewed from grain, it is safer than untreated water and provides calories. It is weak by modern standards, but it is consumed daily by adults and children alike. Brewing is skilled labor, and a failed batch is a serious loss. Seasonal rhythms dominate thought. Spring brings anxiety over seed reserves. Summer offers hope and exhaustion. Autumn brings relief mixed with fear. Winter tests every decision made earlier in the year. Food also shapes social life. Feasts mark successful harvests, weddings, and agreements. These moments of abundance are meaningful precisely because they are rare. Generosity displayed during feasts builds reputation and obligation. But most days are quiet. A bowl of porridge, a piece of bread, a shared pot near the fire. Enough to continue working. You learn to read hunger in others. The thinning faces, the slowed movements, the careful chewing, you recognize it in yourself as well. Life as a Viking villager is not constant starvation, but it is never certainty. Eating well is temporary. Preparation is constant. Food is not just what you consume. It is what you worry about, plan for, and remember. Every mouth fed represents labor somewhere else. Every meal reflects the success or failure of the entire village. In this world, survival tastes like grain, smoke, and patience. Work begins before you are ready for it, and it ends long after your body would prefer to stop. There is no clear line between labor and life. To exist in a Viking village is to work, and to work is to remain alive. Days are shaped by light rather than clocks. When the sun rises, movement begins. When it sets, exhaustion decides what happens next. In summer, this means long hours that stretch late into the night. In winter, it means compressing as much effort as possible into a narrow band of dim daylight. Most labor is physical. Tools are simple, and efficiency depends on endurance rather than speed. Wooden handles, iron blades, and stone weights demand strength and repetition. Every task leaves its mark on the body. Farming work dominates much of the year. In spring, fields are prepared again and again. Soil is broken, stones are removed. Manure is spread by hand. Seeds are sown carefully because there is no surplus to waste. Each motion is deliberate, learned through years of watching and copying. During summer, maintenance never stops. Weeds are pulled, fences repaired, animals herded and watched constantly. A moment of neglect can mean lost livestock or damaged crops. Heat adds to the strain. Sweat soaks wool and linen. There is no relief except brief pauses and shallow water. Autumn is relentless. Harvest time compresses weeks of work into a frantic race against weather. Grain is cut, bundled and threshed. Vegetables are pulled and stored. Animals selected for slaughter are killed, skinned, and processed. Smoke rises constantly as meat is preserved. Sleep becomes secondary. Winter shifts labor indoors, but it does not remove it. Wood must be chopped and carried. Tools repaired, nets mended, wool spun and woven, clothing patched repeatedly. The work is quieter, but no less necessary. Men and women both work long hours, though tasks often differ. Men typically handle plowing, heavy lifting, long-distance travel, and defense. Women manage food preparation, textile production, household organization, and childcare, all of which are essential to survival. These roles overlap frequently. Necessity overrides custom. Children are expected to contribute as soon as they are able. A child who can walk can carry. A child who can listen can watch animals or tend fires. There is no concept of being too young to help. Capability defines responsibility. Craft labor fills the spaces between farming seasons. Woodworking produces tools, bowls, sleds, and repairs to buildings. Ironworking, where available, creates knives, nails, and farming implements. These skills are learned slowly and guarded carefully. A skilled craftsperson is valuable to the entire village. Fishing and herding add variety, but not rest. Nets must be checked daily. Animals must be watched constantly to prevent loss. Travel for these tasks exposes workers to weather, injury, and isolation. Injury is common. Cuts, crushed fingers, strained backs, and broken bones are part of daily risk. Without modern medicine, even small wounds can become serious. People work through pain because stopping is rarely an option. Exhaustion is accepted. Rest is brief and functional. Sitting by the fire after dark, sharing food, and listening to stories are the closest things to leisure. Even then, hands are often busy repairing or preparing for the next day. There is no retirement. Elders work as long as they are able. When strength fades, they contribute through knowledge, instruction, and lighter tasks. When even that becomes impossible, they rely entirely on family support. Work also shapes identity. You are known by what you do well. A strong plowman, a careful herder, a skilled spinner. These reputations matter. They determine who is trusted, who is sought out, and who is valued during crisis. Weather constantly interferes. Rain delays harvest, frost damages crops, storms interrupt fishing, plans change daily. Adaptation is a learned skill. Despite the strain, there is rhythm in labor. Repetition creates familiarity. Tasks done together build quiet bonds. Shared effort reduces isolation. There are moments of satisfaction, a fence that holds, a harvest brought in before rain, a repaired tool that works again. These small successes matter. Labor is not heroic, but it is respected. Survival depends on it. Praise is subtle, but failure is visible. By the end of each day, your body aches. Hands are rough, muscles burn. Sleep comes quickly, not as comfort, but as necessity. In a Viking village, work is not something you finish. It is something you live inside, from dawn to dusk, season after season. To endure is to keep moving. The village does not exist in isolation. Even the most remote settlement is tied, loosely but persistently, to a wider world through trade, craft, and movement. These connections are not grand or constant, but they matter. They bring tools, materials, news, and quiet changes that shape daily life. Trade begins locally. Neighboring villages exchange what they lack. Grain for fish, wool for woodwork, labor for favor. Barter is common. and value is practical. What matters is usefulness, durability, and trust. A person known to cheat or exaggerate finds partners scarce. Seasonal markets form where paths and waterways meet. These are not bustling cities, but temporary gatherings. People arrive with sleds, carts, and boats, carrying surplus goods to exchange. The atmosphere is cautious but social. Deals are made face to face. Memory enforces fairness. Craft production underpins much of this exchange. Most households produce basic items themselves, but specialized crafts stand apart. A skilled blacksmith, carpenter, or weaver serves many families. Their work is essential, not decorative. Iron is especially valuable. Smelted from bog iron or traded in from elsewhere, it becomes knives, axes, nails, and plow fittings. Iron tools last longer and work better than stone or wood, but they require maintenance. A dull blade wastes energy and time. Textile work occupies countless hours. Wool is washed, carded, spun, and woven by hand. Linen requires growing flax, retting it, breaking it, and spinning fine fibers. Clothing represents immense labor. A torn garment is not discarded, it is repaired repeatedly. Woodworking supplies everyday necessities. Bowls, buckets, sleds, handles, and structural beams are shaped carefully. Waste is minimized. Offcuts become fuel or pegs. Skill is recognized in quiet details, joints that hold, tools that fit the hand well. Trade extends beyond the village through rivers and coastlines. Boats carry goods farther than feet ever could. Fish, furs, amber, and crafted items move outward. In return come salt, metal, glass beads, and occasionally luxury items that mark status. These goods do not arrive often. When they do, they are noticed. A foreign bead sewn into clothing, a new blade, a different style of clasp. Small signals that the world is larger than the fields and forests nearby. Most villagers never travel far themselves. Those who do are often men involved in seasonal expeditions or traders moving between known routes. Their return brings stories, warnings, and changes in expectation. Raiding exists on the edges of this system, but it is not the focus of village life. When people leave to raid, households adjust, labor shifts, risk increases. The village endures quietly while others are gone. Wealth within villages is uneven. Some households accumulate more livestock, better tools, or stronger connections. This wealth is visible but restrained. Excessive display invites resentment or challenge. Trade also reinforces law and obligation. Agreements rely on reputation. Breaking trust limits future exchange. In small networks, memory is enforcement. Craft skill provides security. A household with specialized ability is valuable even in hard times. Knowledge can be as important as land. Foreign contact introduces subtle change. New techniques spread slowly. Old ways adapt rather than vanish. Innovation is cautious, filtered through experience. For most villagers, the wider world is known through objects rather than maps. A piece of metal from far away. A story repeated by firelight. A new idea tested carefully. Trade does not make life easy, but it makes it possible. It smooths shortages, rewards skill, and connects isolated lives into a broader human web. Even in a small village, you are never entirely alone. Your tools, clothing, and habits carry the marks of many hands, some near, some far. The wider world touches your life quietly, through craft, exchange, and the slow movement of things. Order in a Viking village does not come from distant kings or written codes posted on walls. It comes from shared memory, public judgment, and the understanding that stability is worth protecting. Law is not abstract. It is lived, argued, and enforced by the people who must continue living together afterward. Most authority is local. Villages govern themselves through assemblies where free members gather to settle disputes, confirm agreements, and witness decisions. These meetings are not frequent spectacles. They are practical responses to problems that cannot be ignored. When conflicts arise, the first response is discussion. Disputes over land boundaries, damaged property, unpaid debts, or insults are addressed openly. Silence allows resentment to grow. Speaking forces resolution. Witnesses matter. Memory matters. A person's past behavior shapes how their words are received. Someone known for fairness is believed more readily than someone known for aggression or deceit. Compensation is the foundation of justice. When harm is done, payment restores balance. This may involve livestock, goods, labor, or future obligation. The goal is not punishment, but stability. A resolved dispute is better than a satisfied sense of vengeance. Violence is discouraged because it multiplies harm. Killing triggers cycles of revenge that can destroy families over generations. For this reason, even serious offenses often end in compensation rather than bloodshed. When violence does occur, consequences are severe. A person who kills without justification may be declared an outlaw. This is not symbolic. An outlaw loses legal protection. Anyone may harm them without penalty. Exile becomes a slow death sentence. The fear of outlawry shapes behavior. To be cut off from kin and community is to lose survival itself. Social exclusion is more dangerous than physical punishment. Women participate in legal processes as witnesses, negotiators, and advocates. While formal authority may be limited, influence is real. Family alliances often hinge on their actions. Slavery complicates justice. Thralls have little legal standing. Harm done to them is treated as damage to property rather than injury to a person. This reinforces their vulnerability and dependence. Law is reinforced by ritual and public acknowledgement. Agreements are witnessed, oaths are sworn aloud. Breaking them damages reputation beyond repair. Justice is not equal. Wealth, kinship, and reputation influence outcomes. Still, the system aims to prevent chaos rather than enforce moral purity. Public punishment exists but is rare. Shame is often sufficient. A person known as unreliable or dangerous finds cooperation withdrawn. Order depends on participation. Everyone watches, everyone remembers. Authority is distributed across the community rather than centralized. Through this system, villages persist. Imperfectly, unevenly, but long enough to survive. Law in a Viking village is not about ideals. It is about endurance, finding ways to continue living together in a world where isolation means death. Belief in a Viking village is not a matter of grand temples or constant ceremony. It is woven quietly into daily life, expressed through habits, seasonal acts, and unspoken assumptions about how the world works. Faith is practical, close to the ground, and shaped by uncertainty. Most villagers do not think of belief as something separate from survival. The land, the weather, illness, and fortune all feel connected to forces beyond human control. These forces are not debated, they are acknowledged. Spiritual life centers on the household. Small rituals take place around the hearth, before journeys, during planting, or at times of illness. Offerings may be simple: food, drink, a carved object, a spoken promise. What matters is intent, not display. Sacred places are often natural rather than built. A grove of trees, a spring, a large stone, or a hill becomes significant through repeated use and memory. These sites are treated with care. Disturbing them brings unease, even if the reason is not fully explained. Seasonal observances mark the year. Changes in light, temperature, and growth prompt gatherings, feasts, or quiet acknowledgement. These moments reinforce community and offer reassurance that cycles continue, even when life feels fragile. Belief also governs attitudes toward fate. Events are not always explained as cause and effect. Some outcomes are simply accepted as inevitable. This acceptance does not remove effort. People work hard, but they understand that effort does not guarantee success. Illness is often interpreted through a spiritual lens. Sickness may be seen as imbalance, misfortune, or the result of unseen forces. Remedies combine practical care with ritual action. Neither approach excludes the other. Death occupies a visible place in village life. Burials are local and meaningful. Objects placed with the dead reflect both care and belief. Tools, clothing, or personal items meant to accompany them. Mourning is shared and brief. Survival does not pause for long. Ancestors remain present through stories and memory. Names repeat across generations. Past deeds influence present identity. Remembering is a form of respect. There is no single authority defining belief. Practices vary by region and household. Consistency comes from repetition, not doctrine. Fear and reverence coexist. The unseen world is not friendly or hostile by default. It simply exists. Appeasement is safer than defiance. Belief offers explanation when explanation is lacking. It provides comfort without certainty. For a Viking villager, faith is not about salvation or judgment. It is about living carefully in a world that does not explain itself. Spiritual life is quiet, persistent, and deeply personal, shaped by the same forces that shape everything else: land, labor, and loss. Illness and injury are not interruptions to life in a Viking village. They are expected parts of it. Everyone lives with the understanding that the body is fragile and that recovery is uncertain. Most people carry scars, cuts from tools, burns from fire, twisted joints from lifting and falling. These marks accumulate over time. Pain is familiar. Complaining does little. Work continues unless movement becomes impossible. Infections are the greatest danger. A small wound can swell, darken, and turn deadly within days. Without knowledge of bacteria or antiseptics, treatment relies on cleaning, binding, and hope. Some remedies help by chance. Others worsen the injury. Bone fractures are common and often permanent. A poorly healed break leaves a limp or weakness that changes a person's role in the household. Adaptation becomes necessary. Strength gives way to experience. Illness moves quietly through villages. Fevers, coughs, stomach sickness, and skin conditions appear without warning. When several people fall ill at once, fear spreads quickly. Isolation is difficult in shared living spaces. Care is communal. Family members tend the sick, bringing food, water, and warmth. Older women often guide treatment, drawing on remembered practices. There is no guarantee of success. Childbirth is especially dangerous. Many women die giving birth or from complications afterward. Surviving multiple births is a mark of endurance, not luck. Children are vulnerable. Many do not survive early childhood. This loss is common enough to be expected, yet painful every time. Old age is rare. Those who reach it are respected but often weakened by years of labor. Care becomes reciprocal. The strong support the frail. Death is not hidden. Bodies are prepared by family members. Burial follows local custom. Life resumes quickly because it must. Grief exists, but survival limits how long it can be expressed openly. Memory carries the weight that daily life cannot. Health in a Viking village is not about prevention or cure. It is about endurance, living with risk, and accepting loss. Every injury survived is a small victory. Every death reshapes the community. Mortality is not a distant concept. It is present in every decision, every labor, every winter endured. To live is to accept that survival is never guaranteed, only attempted. A year in a Viking village is not a sequence of events. It is a cycle that tightens and loosens, presses and relents, always returning to the same demands with small variations. Time is not something you pass through. It is something you endure alongside the land. Spring begins with uncertainty. Snow retreats slowly, revealing fields that look smaller than you remember. Tools are checked, repaired, and argued over. Seed stores are counted again and again. Every handful placed in the soil feels like a gamble. Too cautious, and the harvest will be thin. Too generous, and there may be nothing left if crops fail. The ground is heavy with moisture. Plowing is slow. Cold rain soaks clothing and chills hands. Work pauses only when the land refuses cooperation. Anxiety hangs quietly in the air. Everyone watches the sky. Summer brings light and exhaustion. Days stretch long, leaving little darkness for rest. Crops demand attention. Animals wander farther. Fishing improves, but storms remain unpredictable. Heat presses inside wool and skin. Water offers brief relief, nothing more. Children grow stronger and more capable. Elders move more slowly. Roles shift subtly as bodies change. No one remarks on it aloud. Autumn arrives with urgency. The village becomes focused, almost silent. Harvest consumes every hour. Grain is cut, carried, and stored. Animals are chosen for slaughter. Smoke rises constantly. The smell of preservation fills the air. There is relief when stores are secured, but it is cautious. Winter has not yet tested them. Winter closes the world. Snow limits movement. Darkness lengthens nights. Work turns inward. Fires are watched carefully. Meals shrink. Conversation slows. Illness feels closer. Stories stretch longer. Silence carries weight. Survival becomes patience. Then the cycle begins again. Life does not feel dramatic when lived this way. It feels repetitive, demanding, and fragile. And yet, people endure. They marry, raise children, argue, reconcile, and remember. This is life as a Viking villager, not legend, not conquest, but persistence. If you've made it this far, take a moment to rest. And if you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past, consider liking the video and subscribing. It helps this work continue. The cycle goes on.